Have you ever been in that spot as a leader where you feel like you're doing everything by the book, but it's just not working? You're being consistent, you're trying to be fair, but your team's results are all over the place? Well, this is a story about a manager who was caught in that exact trap, a puzzle that made them rethink what fairness even means. And these are the manager's own words. You can almost feel the frustration, right? They were using the same solid coaching playbook for every single person on the team. Setting clear goals, really listening, staying objective, textbook stuff. But the outcome, it was baffling. Some people were just taken off, flying, and others, they were completely grounded. So, all of this led our manager to a really fundamental question, and it's the one that's at the heart of this whole story. Is fairness really about giving everyone the exact same thing? Or is there something deeper, something more effective that we're missing? This is the riddle our manager had to solve. Okay, so let's dig into this idea of the fairness paradox. It's this really weird, counterintuitive problem where a manager, with the best of intentions, tries to be fair by treating everyone the same, but somehow ends up creating more inequality. Let's take a closer look at what was actually happening on this manager's team. So here's the situation in a nutshell. One manager, one coaching style. For some folks on the team, it was like rocket fuel. They got more autonomous, they were eager for the next challenge. But for the others, that same approach was a total dud. It just wasn't landing. They seemed to need more hand-holding, more structure. The manager's fair approach was actually failing half the team, and they had no idea why. The manager was completely stuck. And the breakthrough only came when their own coach offered a totally new way of looking at the problem. A new lens that, honestly, changed everything. And boom! This is the reframe. The coach just drops this question and it shifts the entire universe. All of a sudden, fairness isn't about identical treatment anymore. It's about customized support. It's not about treating everyone the same. It's about giving each person what they actually need to be successful. And this new lens, this new way of seeing things, it wasn't about performance reviews or hitting KPIs. It was about something much deeper, developmental readiness. This is all about a person's ability to operate from their mature adult self, to handle uncertainty without panicking, and to actually look in the mirror and see their own patterns. It's not about how good you are at your job, it's about how ready you are to grow into your next level. So to make this idea practical, the coach gave the manager a new set of tools, a kind of developmental toolkit for seeing and working with their team members on this much deeper level. Okay, first tool in the box, understanding the child ego state. Turns out we've all got one. The free child is that awesome, spontaneous, creative part of us, but then there's the adapted child. That's the part that learned how to get by, maybe by being super compliant or by being rebellious. And when an employee is stuck in that adapted child mode, they're not creating, they're not innovating, they're just trying to follow the rules they think you've set. All right, next up, the parent ego state. And this is where our manager had a bit of an ouch moment. They immediately recognized their own critical parent, that internal voice that's always saying things like, "You should know this by now." But that kind of talk just triggers the other person's adapted child, right? It makes them shut down. The real goal is to tap into that nurturing parent, the voice that's supportive, that says, "I believe in you." Now, to tie all of this together, the coach shared a really powerful metaphor: scaffolding. Think about it. You wouldn't try to put up a 50-story building without a ton of external support, right? Well, it's the same thing with people. You can't just expect them to build their own capacity without the right structure in place to support them. So here's how this whole scaffolding thing works. First, you provide a lot of external support, super clear boundaries, really explicit expectations. Then you just watch. You look for signs that they're getting stronger internally, like when they start performing well with less and less of your guidance. And then, slowly, you start to take the scaffolding away, piece by piece, letting them learn to stand on their own. It's a real art. Take it away too soon and they falter. Leave it up too long and they never learn to support themselves. And it was right about here, with all these new tools and this new metaphor, that the manager started to connect the dots, linking all this theory to the very real people and problems on their team. The light bulb finally went on. And there it is, the breakthrough. The manager suddenly starts talking about a specific team member, Kim. They'd been pushing her, trying to get her to think more strategically, more big picture, but every time, Kim would just get lost in the weeds and all the tiny little details. The manager was so frustrated and was starting to think Kim just wasn't cut out for it. And here you can see the problem so clearly. The manager was asking Kim for this big picture strategic thinking, which requires a really strong adult capacity to deal with ambiguity. But Kim just wasn't there yet developmentally. What she needed was concrete, step-by-step guidance to feel secure and competent. So when the manager asked for strategy, it just overwhelmed her, and she retreated back to the only thing that felt safe, the details.
And you know what? It wasn't just Kim. The managers suddenly saw the same pattern everywhere. They were pushing another employee, David, to find his own internal validation when he wasn't ready. They were trying to get Trevor to take feedback before he had the humility to really hear it. The core mistake, the big one, was this. The manager was expecting everyone to already be at their developmental level.
So, armed with this huge insight, the manager basically took their old coaching playbook, the one-size-fits-all one, and threw it right in the trash. It was time for a completely new approach. And the new plan is all about being dynamic. First things first, figure out where each person actually is on their developmental journey. Then you flex your style. You give more structure to the people who need it, and you give more freedom to the people who are ready for it. And, this is the key part, you never stop checking in, because the goal is to always be right there, helping them take that very next step. The coach gave them this perfect metaphor. It's not a rigid military march, it's a dance. You're constantly feeling out your partner's moves and adjusting yours to match. If you lead too hard, they trip. If your lead is too weak, you lose the connection. It's all about finding that perfect, responsive rhythm. But just when our manager felt like they'd finally cracked the code, the coach threw in one last giant curveball, a challenge that went way beyond just coaching one-on-one. And this is a huge deal. The coach basically warns the manager, look, individual growth doesn't happen in a bubble. By trying to help your people develop and become more autonomous, you might actually find yourself in a fight with your entire company's culture. I mean, think about it. Every organization has its own unwritten rules, its own script. What if that script actually rewards people for being compliant, for staying in that adapted child mode? What if the system actively punishes the kind of risk-taking and autonomy you're trying to build? All of your amazing coaching efforts could get completely neutralized by the system you're in. And that brings up a really tough question for any of us who lead people. You can become the best coach in the world for your team, but what do you do when the very air you're all breathing is designed to stifle the growth you're trying to spark? And so that leaves us here with what might be the ultimate leadership challenge. It's one thing to coach a person. It's a whole other thing to build an amazing, thriving team when the larger system around you might be fundamentally broken. So the question I want to leave you with is this: how do you build a great team in a broken system?